Hello there, my name is Brother Steve. This is Messages of the Three Angels. Okay, and this is regarding a study that we did yesterday on Thursday, the 18th of September. And the reason for this recording is because it was my first time hosting a Zoom meeting and I did not press record. But for those of you who would like to recap, we are studying our history as the Advent people. And by the Advent people, we are the people who have taken the Advent movement and ran with it. Okay, and we can see through the stream of time here that this is our message. Okay, so this timeline reaches from 742, which was prophesied by Isaiah in Isaiah 7, 8, and 9. Okay, and runs all the way through the stream of time to 1844 at the termination of the vision. Okay, so this channel and these studies are going to be dedicated to prophecy. Okay, using the 1843 Fitch chart, and this is what the same chart that the Millerites used. Okay, and they preached throughout the whole year of 1843. And then later on, Sister White receives a vision of the 1850 chart. We follow the 1850 chart all the way down the stream of time. We see that we have the sanctuary that's added here at the bottom. Okay, and then everybody's gathered around the sanctuary. There's a line here that delineates the first two angels' messages. So first angel's message, second angel's message, and then those are predicated on time, and that time is the preaching of the times on the 1843 chart. Now it's important to note that these dates are correct, the calculations are correct, okay, and that's going to come into play later on. Even 1843 is the correct date, okay. And then over here, it flows better on the 1850 chart, so I'm going to show you. So over here on the left, we have the vision of Nebuchadnezzar. This is Daniel chapter 2, okay, in the feet of iron and clay here. All right, to the right of that, we've got Daniel 7, okay, and then to the right of that, we've got Babylon being taken out of the way, okay, because in Daniel 8, Daniel's writing from Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, which is Persia, okay. So we have Daniel chapter 8. We have the ram and the he-goat and the little horn, okay, that goes all the way through the stream of time. We have both dispensations of Rome. We have pagan Rome and we have papal Rome following the little horn all the way to the image beast of Revelation 13 that makes an image to the first beast before him. Okay, so the image beast makes an image to the papacy. To the end of time, to the seventh angel, okay, and the seventh angel is the third woe, okay, which is the seven last plagues. All right, so we're going to be studying to show ourselves approved unto God, all right, that we can rightly divide the word of truth, and so that we know what we believe, we can share this to others, and hopefully, and I know that God is going to bless, but that souls can be saved, because now is the time to know what we believe, and we cannot give a message that we do not ourselves know. All right, so with that being said, my name is Brother Steve, and it's a privilege here to be sharing. So without further ado, we're going to go over to our overview, and that is of the three angels' messages, and here we go. All right, so the fulfillment of the messages as experienced by the pioneers of the Advent movement can be seen in the parable of the 10 virgins of Matthew 25, 1 through 10. Now let's think for a minute about what that means, because that's a heavy reality. Okay, so we go back and we read Matthew 25, we can really see what's going on, and the pioneers of the Advent movement went through this experience. And so Sister White writes that this is the experience that we must have, okay? And because all of the men and women who experienced those, the first and second angels' messages are dead, we must receive them from their writings and from their own accounts. So praise God that we still have books and that we still have the recorded writings of the people who were actually there. I would caution to take too deeply any kind of new doctrine that varies from anything around 1844 after the Great Disappointment after the sanctuary, the knowledge of the sanctuary and that doctrine was established, because they finally ironed it out and discovered that they weren't wrong about the time, they were wrong about the event. And being wrong about the event is key. But in Matthew 25, we see the parable of the 10 virgins. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. The bridegroom, of course, is Jesus. Verse 2, and 5 of them were wise, and 5 of them were foolish. Okay? Now, they that were foolish took their lamps. That is the Bible, okay? Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Okay, so they all had their Bibles, and the 5 that were foolish took no oil with them. Now, oil is a symbol of the Holy Spirit in the Scriptures. Okay? While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. But before we get too far ahead here, all 10 virgins went forth with their lamps and were brought to the tarrying time that led to the midnight cry. Note that the 5 foolish virgins were rejected, seen in verses 11 and 12, where it says, Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. The door being closed in verse 10 coincides with the shut door seen in the message to the church of Philadelphia in Revelation 3, 7-8. The experience that the pioneers of our message had is the experience we must have, and we must receive them from they that had experienced them. So this is taken from Early Writings, page 188, and the first and second paragraphs. So I'd encourage you to go and read those quotations for yourself. It will round the corners of your understanding as far as what we're presenting here. So item number 1, the first angel's message. Well, in short, the first angel's message is time. Okay, and time was presented on this chart. This is the Charles Fitch chart. Okay, and Sister White writes in Great Controversy 1884, which is Spiritual Gifts, Volume 4. There's a chapter in there that says the tarrying time. In the second paragraph, there's a statement that she makes that says, as early as 1842, the Spirit of God moved upon Charles Fitch to devise the prophetic chart. Okay, and it was generally regarded by Adventists as a fulfillment of the prophecy of Habakkuk the prophet to write the vision and make it plain upon tables. Okay, so this is one of the tables or charts. Okay, that was made as part of the movement. Okay, the other one is the 1850 chart, which is over here, that relatively has the same figures. Okay, so we've got Daniel chapter 2, we've got Daniel chapter 7, we've got Daniel chapter 8, and notice that the head of gold is gone. Okay, the lion, which represents Babylon. Why? Because Daniel 8, if you read the top of the chapter, he's writing from Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam or Persia. Okay, so we've got the ram and the he-goat. So this is Media and Persia and Grecia. Okay, Grecia takes over rulership of the then known world. Okay, and then out of one of the 4 winds comes forth a little horn. Okay, and then we know this to be Rome. Okay, and if you go back to Daniel 7, you'll see that it explicitly calls the 4th kingdom Rome. Okay, well, it doesn't say it by name, but we know that the 4th kingdom that ruled the earth, who stood up against the prince of princes, right here, okay, is Rome. All right, so we've got 2 forms of Rome. There's pagan Rome, and then there's papal Rome. Now the dividing time is 538, okay, 538 AD when the papacy was set up. Okay, and this is 30 years after 508 AD, where the daily was taken away. So if we look at our timeline here, okay, we've got the dividing line here. We've got 508 AD dealing with the daily. Where do we see the daily? It's over here, okay, and that's dealing with paganism, okay, or pagan dominion, and that lasts from the northern kingdom in 723, carried away. Okay, they were scattered under Hoshea. And you can find that in 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 6. And also Isaiah chapter 10, 5 and 6 establishes the Assyrian as God's indignation. Okay? So he's using the pagan nations to do his will, which is to scatter his people Why? Because Israel had broken the covenant. And what is the covenant? The covenant is God's commandments. Okay, so the northern kingdom began to be scattered in 723 BC. Well, 1,260 years later, and this number is going to come up very frequent in our studies, okay? We get to 538, where the abomination of desolation, also known as the little horn or the papacy, is set up. Okay? Now the question in Daniel 8:13 about this power, about the treading down by the pagan nations of God's people, okay? He says, "How long shall be the vision concerning the daily and the transgression of desolation?" So those two, the daily here, the transgression of desolation on this side, even though it says abomination of desolation. Now, idolatry is the Romans were they worshipped idols, and in fact they had a sun cult called Sol Invictus, and Sol Invictus was the name of their sun god. Now, in earlier cultures like the Persians, it would have been the same god, only called Mithra, and so on and so forth, going all the way back down the line of history. Okay, so we've got these two powers. So the question about the vision that Daniel wants to know is, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? And the answer was given unto him, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And that's in Daniel 8:14. Okay, but remember, Daniel 8 is written in Shushan the palace in the province of Elam. Okay, so he's about right here. Okay, and the vision begins in Daniel 9, where we see its commencement with the commencement of the 70 weeks. Okay, Daniel 9:24 to 27, you can read about that. All right, so we've got our 2,300 days from here, 457 BC, all the way through the stream of time to 1843. Okay, so this is what is on the chart. So for the first time, if this is the first time that you're seeing these prophecy charts, it can be a little bit overwhelming, to say the least. So it's important to have a little aid there. And so that's why we have a line graph showing the fulfillment of time, because prophecy is none more than history told in advance. God said, "I am God and there is none else. I am God and there is none like me," declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, "My counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure." Okay, but back to our overview. All right. And, okay, so the first angel's message, Revelation 14:6. If we can turn there. Revelation 14:6 is the first angel's message. And the Bible says, "And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation, and kindred, and tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made the heaven, and the earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters." Okay? So the first angel's message of Revelation 14:6 was fulfilled in the Advent movement of 1840 to 1844, and it was predicated on prophetic time, and that the times had been fulfilled or were about to be fulfilled. Okay, so at the prediction was made by William Miller and his cohorts that Jesus would come to cleanse the sanctuary according to Daniel 8:14. And when he came, that was the second coming. He was coming to collect his bride and to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. Okay, and cleanse the earth by fire. Okay, and you can see this in Great Controversy 1884 edition on page 164. At least if you have the Harvest Time edition of that, which is the reddish earth on the front cover. If not, then it's Spirit of Prophecy, Volume 4, page 222, first paragraph. Okay? And this takes into account Habakkuk 2:2-3, the right division, make it plain upon tables. Okay? Revelation 10. So let's talk about Revelation 10. We have a special event here. We see a mighty angel in Revelation 10. Okay? And if you study out, you will come to know that this is Jesus. Okay? So I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head. So a rainbow is a symbol of God's covenant. And if it's around his head, then God or Christ is remembering the covenant. Okay? His face was as it were the sun, his feet as pillars of fire. He had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders had uttered their voices. Okay, we're not going to talk about the 7 thunders, but we are going to talk about this mighty angel with the little book in his hand. So we see this same mighty angel in Daniel chapter 12. So if you go to Daniel chapter 12 and we key in on verse 7, okay? Well, we'll start in verse 6 for a little bit of context. Okay? And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, How long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he had held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth for ever, that it shall be for a time, times and a half. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. But if we follow on a little bit further, we'll see that something is being done to Daniel's prophecy. In verse 9, and he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. Now, this is not the only place in Daniel that mentions the sealing of this little book. Okay, the little book is the book that is being opened, that is open in the hand of the mighty angel in Revelation 10. Okay, so he had in his hand a little book open. Okay, which means that this was open till, and the book was to be sealed till the time of the end. So now we have to establish, what is the time of the end? Okay, so if we follow down through history, okay, all these things were fulfilled. Now, the prophecies that are in the book of Daniel is the contents of the little book, and what you see here on the Fitch chart is the contents of the little book open in the hand of the mighty angel. Okay, so all this truth is to be understood by God's people. All right, so coming down through the stream of time, we see something happen. Okay, 1798, it says the Pope was taken captive. Why is that relevant? Okay, we're going to get there. All right, so if we go over to Daniel 7, which is represented right here, okay, we're going to take a look at what the prophet has to say. So we're back toward the bottom here. All right, so regarding the little horn, which is the fourth kingdom or Rome, okay, the Bible says this in Daniel 7:25, He shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. So any prophecy student would agree that a time is a year. Okay, and we can even see this in Daniel 4 when Nebuchadnezzar was made to live like the beasts of the field, as a mindless beast eating the grass like an ox. Okay, and his nails growing as eagle's claws. Okay, for 7 times or 7 years. So, but prophetically, a year is 360 days, and so we count the days as individual years. Okay, so a time, which is 360, times, which is double that, 720, and the dividing of time, which is 6 months or 180 days. When you add those up, it gets to it's 1260 days. Now we can show this in several places, at least 7 places in the scriptures. We'll go over to Revelation chapter 12, which is dealing with the same time period. Okay. Let's see. All right. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, that is an unoccupied area or country, okay, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Okay, why? Because the serpent is persecuting the woman. A woman is a symbol in prophecy as a church. Okay, so the true church is being persecuted here in Revelation 12. Okay, all right, so why? Because the dragon is wroth or angry with the woman, that's the church, and the dragon, by the way, is Satan. Okay, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which what? Keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Okay, but let's go a little bit further here. We're going to look at Revelation 11. There we go. All right. But the court which is without, that's outside the temple, leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. Now the Gentiles have their dominion not in heaven, okay, but they have it on the earth. So when the great disappointment happened and they began to understand the sanctuary, okay, that Miller's prediction of Christ coming back to cleanse the sanctuary, which they thought at that time was the earth and to cleanse it with fire, was they had the event wrong, because the earth is not the sanctuary, but heaven is the sanctuary, and the court is the earth. Well, let's go a little further. And the holy city, that's the holy host, or Jerusalem, or God's people, okay, shall they tread, who? The Gentiles shall tread underfoot 42 months. So now when we come back to Daniel chapter 8, we're starting to understand the question that's being asked here in Daniel 8:13. So how long shall be the vision concerning the daily? And the sacrifice was added by the wisdom of man. But don't take my word for it. Go read Early Writings, page 74. Okay, and she'll explain why. It was added by the wisdom of man. That's why in your King James Bible, it is italicized and it's not regular font. Okay, it is not there in the original language. So we're dealing with how long shall be the vision concerning the daily and the transgression of desolation. That's the papacy. Okay, to give both the sanctuary and the host, there's the host, or the holy city, okay, to be trodden underfoot. All right. So in 1798, at the time of the end, which is when the 1260 years of papal persecution ends and the papal dominion ends, right here from 538 AD all the way to 1798, then something happens. Okay, this begins the time of the end, and yes, it's the end, the time of the end of the vision, but it's really the time of the end of the indignation. Okay, and it just so happens that this is 1260 on the daily and 1260 on the abomination of desolation, and if you add those together, it's exactly 2,520 years. And we see a parallel timeline here on the southern kingdom, okay, which was scattered under Manasseh, 2 Chronicles 33, verse 11, okay, and predicted by the prophet Habakkuk in chapter 1, verse 6, okay. 677 BC, all the way to the stream of time, to 1843 is exactly 2,520 years. So there's no coincidence. There's no coincidence here. This is put together purposefully and planned by the wonderful number who is Jesus Christ. All right. So instead of just getting hung up on the 2,300 days, which is not, it's not necessarily a problem, but to understand certain parts of the prophecy when it's speaking of the indignation, or when Gabriel told Daniel in chapter 8, I will make thee known what shall be in the last end of the indignation, then it's important for us to know which end of the indignation, or what part and what the indignation is. If we go back to Isaiah 10, 5 and 6, then the Bible will tell us what God's indignation is. And that's him raising up the pagan nations to do his will, to scatter the people. Okay, Jeremiah wrote, Israel is a scattered sheep, the lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria hath devoured him, and last, this Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, hath broken his bones. Who's represented as a lion here? Okay, and there's two lions here. This isn't Assyria didn't make the vision here, but in Daniel 2, he is seeing the entire vision. Okay, all the way to Christ's second coming, which is represented by the stone that's cut out without hands. Okay, and then the next part of the vision is a recapitulation or retelling of the same vision, where Babylon is represented as a lion with wings. The second kingdom, instead of the shoulders and arms of silver, okay, it is now a bear with the three ribs in his mouth, okay, and then Grecia as the leopard-like beast with the four wings and the four heads, okay, and then of course Rome, the fourth kingdom with the little horn here, okay, and then Babylon is taken away from the vision because it's no longer part of the vision as it has to do with current events. Okay, so now we're starting off with Medo-Persia, and then Grecia in Daniel 8, and then all the way to the little horn, which is not represented very well, in my opinion, on this chart. But we see pagan Rome here, and then papal Rome, and then eventually we come to the image beast. But the 1840 or the 1853 chart has a better transition, in my opinion. So we've got Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Daniel 8, all the way to this stream of time, to Revelation 13, okay? And then finally, when the seventh angel shall begin to sound, the mystery of God shall be finished. And that is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Okay, because Christ, according to Hebrews chapter 1, verses 1 through 3, is the express image of the Father. And the goal of the gospel is the restoration of the image of God in man, and that image of God is Christ. Christ in you, the hope of glory. So when the mystery of God shall be finished, in the time when the seventh angel shall begin to sound, that is the goal of the gospel being completed. Okay, and then once the seventh angel has sounded fully, okay, then we see the third woe, which is the seven last plagues, and we are in the time just before that. So it cannot be overstated that we must put on Christ. Okay, so let's get back to our outline here. All right, in 1842, during the Millerite movement, 300 copies of the Fitch prophecy chart were made and given to the Advent movement preachers. The chart was preached from through the whole year of 1843. This period is the going forth of the virgins, Matthew 25:1. Matthew 25:1 we've already read. We'll read it again. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be like unto 10 virgins which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. Okay, the second angel's message. Revelation 14:8, like the first angel's message, is predicated on time. It began its proclamation in April, that's the spring, okay? April 21, 1844, the first disappointment, okay? This is whenever they had predicted Christ would come, but he did not come back. So that's in Volume 4, Spirit of Prophecy 242, first paragraph, okay? This event brings us to the tarrying time. Matthew 25:5. We're going to read Matthew 25:5. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Well, that was 5 and 6. Okay, spring is brought to view here. So we have the fall. We have spring, okay. Oh, sorry, that's not the fall, that's the spring. The spring is brought to view for the end of 1843 and the beginning of 1844, this being the first day of the year. Although the Gregorian date is April 21, it corresponds to Nisan or Abib 1 in the Karaite Jewish calendar, okay, which is the first of the year biblically speaking. It's the first day of the first month of the new year in 1844, and it was that calendar, the Karaite Jewish calendar, which was used by William Miller for the time calculations. So, but this went unnoticed at the time, okay? They weren't aware of it. Okay, so the summer of 1844 is when the midnight cry was made and strengthened the second angel's message. Matthew 25:6, which we've already read. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Okay, the announcement was spread that Jesus would come in the autumn, that's the fall, okay? Namely October 22, 1844. This date corresponds to Tishrei 10 on the Hebrew calendar, okay, the Karaite Jewish calendar, to Yom Kippur. Okay, now it's not this date every year, but in 1844 it was this date, Tishrei 10. Well, it's Tishrei 10 every year, but it's not always going to correspond with October 22. Okay, because of the overlap of the calendars, and the biblical calendar is predicated on the new moons and so on and so forth. There's some variance. Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement. Okay, this satisfied the answer given by the Holy One in Daniel 8:14, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Okay, so it was misunderstood by the Adventists that the earth was the sanctuary to be cleansed by fire when Jesus returns. And that's 4 Spirit of Prophecy 258.1. Okay, the misunderstanding of the event was key. When Jesus did not return on October 22, 1844, in the autumn, the disappointed ones went back and studied the sanctuary and recognized their mistake. Jesus had gone into the most holy place to perform the cleansing of the sanctuary brought to light in the type of Leviticus 16, and to perform the work of judgment, Daniel 7, 9 through 10 and verse 13. So we're going to go there real quick. Okay. Okay. I beheld till thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days, that's the Father, did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were open. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. So now we're in the time of the little horn, okay? We're going to skip ahead to verse 13. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man, that's Christ, came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, that's the Father, and they brought him near before them. This was for an act of judgment and to cleanse the sanctuary. So Christ went into the most holy place on the Day of Atonement in 1844, okay, for this work. So him being our high priest, if you follow through the book of Revelation, he is seen at every station, okay. For the sixth woe, we see him in front of the golden altar that is before the veil, the second veil, okay, and that's the dividing line between the holy place and the most holy place. Okay, and so by the time we get down to the end of the second woe, we are reading through chapter 11 of Revelation, about the French Revolution and the things that transpired during those times, and then we come to the two witnesses, which are the new, or the Old and the New Testament. But we get down here to verse 19, and something sticks out. And the temple of God was open in heaven. Now, this isn't talking about just the building in general. This is talking about the second apartment, which is the most holy place. How do we know that? And there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. That's the ark of the covenant, which was kept in the most holy place. Okay? So now we're coming down to the wire here, and God's people are starting to understand what's happening in heaven. Okay? So into the, let's see, as the parable states, the wise virgins went into the marriage, and the door was shut. On October 22, 1844, the door to the holy place was shut, and the door into the most holy place was opened. This is seen in the message to the Church of Philadelphia, which is the time in which the pioneers of the Advent message lived. Okay, Revelation 3, 7 through 8 says, and to the church of to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth, and no man shutteth, and shutteth, and no man openeth. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee a what? An open door, and no man can shut it, for thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. Now, time has not been a test since 1844. This is what Sister White quotes, okay? What she says in Early Writings, page 74. And it will never again be a test, okay? So this is why there's a dividing line from 1844, a line coming right here, first angel's message right here, followed by the second, okay, because those who rejected the light of the first angel's message, okay, could not receive the light from the second angel's message that declared the fallen churches as Babylon and fallen. Okay? Why were they fallen? Because if there's one light in the room, okay, and it's in the corner of the room, if you decide you're not going to go with that light, the only place to go is back out into darkness. Okay? These two being predicated on time, time being no longer here by 1844, that was the end of the vision, the end of prophetic time, followed by the third angel, where Christ is readying his people, bringing them around the covenant in the most holy place. And in the covenant is God's holy law, or his 10 commandments, the standard of the judgment. Okay, so the third angel's message is present truth since 1844 and will continue until the harvest. Thrust in thy sickle and reap. Okay? All right. Third angel's message. Revelation 11:19. The temple of God was open in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. And there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. Christ in the most holy place gathers the wise virgins by faith with him back to the covenant, or God's commandments. The Sabbath began to be understood and kept by the Advent brethren, in contrast to the warning of Revelation 14:9 through 11. The first and second angels' messages show God's people the fulfillment of prophecy, their experience, and prepares them for the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell on the earth. And we can read that in Revelation 3:10. It's also in the message to the Philadelphians. Okay? Revelation 14:12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that what? Keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Now, this isn't just Christianity. This isn't the faith called after Christ. This is what Christ believed. So all of the prophets and the apostles agree on the true doctrine. They agree on the prophecies. They agree on the players, even though it was 2,000 years and more before their time. The Lord by his Spirit had shown them what he was going to do. So all were united on the vision. It's significant that we acknowledge that all the prophets and apostles agreed on the events of the vision. God has restored the original faith, which is the faith of Jesus, which is what he believed, to his faithful remnant. We must know these messages to be able to give the trumpet a certain sound and warn the world before Christ returns. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached into all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So this is not some new gospel, brethren. This is the closing work of the everlasting gospel. Okay, the Lord certainly will make an end of all things, and I believe very strongly it's going to be in our generation. So let us take heed to these messages. Let us learn all we can and apply ourselves to knowing God through these messages. Why? Because he's revealed his will, he's revealed his secret to his servants, the prophets, and he has unsealed the little book that his people will be ready when he comes. God bless you, and the Lord keep you.